Well, welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm gonna ask my esteemed panel to please join me up here. I know I was about to say, we need our up to bat song. Let's hear the music.
Yes, thank you. Love it.
How is everyone doing today? I know maybe a little lunch lull right now, but do we feel good and energized and inspired? How's the venue? How's the networking? Okay, good. Needed a little bit of excitement. Thank you. Thank you. Again, my name is Brittany Billings. I'm the EVP of Marketing here at Trax. I oversee our shopper marketing solution, and I am thrilled and honored to be hosting this panel today to talk about all things shopper, or all things people, or all things community, or all things customers, whatever name we want to call them. We know that we love them, and we know that we need them. So I'm gonna let my panel introduce themselves. And if you wanna give your up-to-bat song, you can share that too.
Oh man, I wasn't prepared for that one. Way to throw that on me. Yeah, exactly.
I started off already.
Hi everyone, I'm Ashley Christensen. So nice to meet you all. I'm so happy I've had a chance to talk to a lot of you. I am the CMO of Ming's Bangs. Ming's Bangs, we are a plant-based pocket brand. We sell in the frozen food section. We were founded by Iron Chef Ming Tsai. It'll be our three-year-old birthday is in March, so we've been around almost 3 years. We are in about 4,000 grocery stores nationwide, although it sounds like quantity does not matter, so I should talk about quality. But yeah, no, just looking forward to talking to you all and excited to be here.
My name is Jessica Pratt, and I am with Pop and Bottle, plant-based lattes, organic oat milk and almond milk lattes, and soon to be super concentrates, and we'll dive into that later. But delighted to be here. I eat, sleep, and breathe the CPG, and have a passion for helping small brands accelerate. So great to be here. Thanks.
Lovely. I'm Christopher Jane, co-founder and CEO of Proper Good. We're a 90-second meals company. We make breakfast, lunch, and dinner items all ready to eat in 90 seconds in the no fridge needed space, so all shelf stable. We're primarily D2C for the first 2 years, and now we're national with Walmart with about 10 items. So yeah, we'll jump into all that in a bit.
Chuck Casano, founder of Pattaya Foods. We're primarily a frozen fruit brand. Grew up in this industry. We're about 13 years old, but grew up, slinging frozen fruit out of the back of our Prius to juice bars in Southern California. But now we can be found in about 25,000 doors, everyone from your local juice bar to Whole Foods to Walmart to Costco. So yeah, mostly exotic frozen fruits.
Thank you all. So today's panel session is about redefining the shopper need. I know we've talked about the D word today, disruption, which a lot of our brands and friends have been disrupted, but we also want to talk about delighting. And if you think about the last 18 to 24 months, we have seen disruption from COVID. We've seen disruption from supply chain issues. We've seen disruption from consumer price index increasing. We've seen retail sales going from 80% plus to 0. So you all have been around at a very, very interesting time. So Chris, I'm gonna toss this one over to you first.
Okay. What
gap did you see in the market that you needed to delight the customer, the shopper, the people?
Sure. First of all, I love the positioning of this delight thing. Our whole company is about surprise and delight, and there's very different ways to do that D2C than there are in retail, which is a fun chat. But no, to answer your question in terms of the gap we saw, so familiar story, I was at school trying to find easy meals, and we found that industry is very barbelled, right? You've got your canned goods at the very low end in terms of ingredients and price point and just brand positioning and so on. And at the very high end, you've got your frozen and refrigerated meal delivery, right? A totally different experience, not necessarily accessible to a lot of people. I was like, I'm in the middle, I'm just bouncing around. Like, I just want like an easy, quick meal. Like, app delivery was so expensive, and frozen and refrigerated delivery was like a totally different usage occasion. So we said, why can't we just make essentially better for you shelf-stable meals, right? Everything in a can, we do better ingredients in a pouch format, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So it really was that middle of the row within that kind of barbell, if you will, in terms of $5 to $7 price point for an instant meal that has ingredients you can pronounce and a brand you want to resonate with and engage with. And all that kind of thing. So really found the middle kind of gap for us. And the majority of our customers are nurses, teachers, truck drivers, students that just want a clean, easy meal. They don't want fast food, and they can't have some of the other things I said for those reasons. So yeah, that was kind of it. And we stayed in that lane very, very definitively.
Amazing. And Chuck, the catalyst, the gap that you were trying to fill.
It's funny, I love that slide before with the toothpaste of the red and blue because frozen fruit and the whole frozen section was like not cool. Nobody was talking about it like, 3 years ago, and we were just grinding in that set. And when you looked at the frozen fruit, you're looking at all private label, and it's just a picture of a fruit, and there was literally just all this white space. So we were like, frozen fruit, like, you're finding this stuff in like a jungle. So like, how do we bring that like experience and like this discovery to this frozen set? And so we did like a huge rebrand. And like, when you look at our brand next to all these white private labels, like we like to think we bring discovery back to frozen fruit and really get people to try new things. I don't think a lot of people try new items through private labels. So we, that works. That's our story to our buyers. Like, hey, we're going to bring new shoppers trying new things into this category, and then you know what? They're going to add the mangoes in there for their smoothie and stuff like that. So the white space was literal white space, and it wasn't a cool space. And then we were just primely positioned for when COVID hit, our sales went like exploded, like because nothing was easier. Everyone was at home, they were working at home, and there's nothing easier to make and prepare yourself than like a smoothie, and you can get a lot of nutrients from it. And so just giving people more variety and more options, like we were just in the right spot at the right time after a lot of hard work to get there.
And Jessica.
So about 5 years after the RTD cold brew boom occurred, our founder, Josh Mehta, found herself standing in front of a grocery set and not able to find on shelf what she wanted. So it was an organic need, right? For coffee, but done differently in latte format, without dairy, responsibly sweetened, boosted by functionality. And so that's how Pop and Bottle was born in 2015, to fulfill that need for her. And then she obviously did some market research and learned quickly that millennials are controlling $200 billion of spend in the US. Female millennials are controlling 85% of that. And light bulb. They also prefer this daily ritualistic beverage in a very specific format. Dairy-free, refined, like no refined sugar, boosted by functionality. So hence the brand was born. I don't think disruptive is a dirty word. I feel like,
oh girl, yes.
I really don't.
Fight back.
It depends on perspective, right? If you're thinking about it from like the consumer or the people perspective, perhaps. But when I think about the word disruptive, I think about how we change or improve an existing category that needs and would benefit from leveling up, from elevating it. So that's sort of what we did at Pop and Bottle for RTD coffee, and have yet done it again. We're shaking up the instant coffee and multi category with our new super concentrates. I would not be
Plug.
a good employee if I didn't. So again, looking at a category that's large, right? Instant coffee is a massive, massive consumed product. But is there a better way? And we have set out to solve that problem and create something better.
Amazing. So Ashley, I saved this question for you last because you probably have the biggest pivot on this panel based on COVID. So please tell us your story.
Sure. So when we got started, so Chef Ming Tsai founded the brand. If you know him or of him, so he was, he's been in culinary for 40, 45 years. He's been on the Food Network. He's an Iron Chef now. He's on Netflix right now on Iron Chef. So his background is culinary. His connections are in culinary. His connections are in restaurants. And so he launched this brand, really to go into restaurants and food service and things like that. To like think of a Sweet Green offering this plant-based pocket, just heat and eat, kind of like a Dunkin' offering a good afternoon plant-based option. we learned very quickly that that wasn't going to be our journey because of COVID. And so we actually pivoted. I started in July, a few years back. And at that point we said, okay, we're gonna start in D2C. At the very least, let's at least launch in D2C and let's figure out a little bit about our consumer and their journey and what their taste preferences are. And let's just learn about shipping product. And, just like Chuck, frozen is hard, but shipping frozen is incredibly hard and incredibly expensive. And we learned, if you think about dry ice too, in the peak of COVID, that's how they were shipping all the vaccines. So for us, we were competing with, their dry ice orders and shipments. And so there was a point where we're like, we don't know if we're going to be able to, get enough dry ice to even send our product. And of course, it's heavy. And so, anyways. We also benefited, much like Chuck, with COVID. Even though it was expensive to do so, people were willing to pay that premium to have this product sent to them for a convenient lunch option. And really, it was like, hey, I can have these pockets sent to me. They go in the air fryer 15 minutes, and there's a meal to feed my children. There's a meal to feed myself for lunch. There's a dinner option, and so we drafted off kind of the momentum of people buying online during COVID, and really use that to build a base for ourselves and learn about our customers and learn about who was shopping, where were they shopping. So actually it was, I hate to say it, but a little bit of a blessing in disguise in the sense that for our business, it really kind of propelled us forward, and we got really out of it. Probably the most thing we got from it was rich insights about our consumers that we wouldn't have been able to get from food service. We then shifted and now, into a retail model as things started opening up. And it's been fun because we've also shifted into food service. We're getting calls from, we're at Barclays or Hard Rock Stadium for the Miami Dolphins with people who are like, hey, we're getting the request from a lot of people to have, plant-based, gluten-free options at food venues, at big cafes, things like that. And there aren't a lot of really great products right now that are easy to prepare for the food service channel. So we've in 3 years have essentially become, a direct-to-consumer brand, a retail brand, a food service brand, and we're having to play different roles. And as a marketer, it's of course very challenging to market in those three, very different avenues, but learning a lot, and it's been, such a fun journey so far.
Amazing. Well, I mean, plant-based can absorb all of those beers at the basketball game, right? So it doesn't just have to be meat.
There you go.
It doesn't just have to be meat.
There you go.
So, if you think about what's a Bing, right? Yeah. There's soup that's in a bag. There's this frozen fruit that I've never heard of, and does grains or nuts even make milk? How are you introducing this new concept or this new category or this new way of looking at it through your shopper marketing strategies? And of all of the depressing things that I said at the beginning of COVID and price increases and supply chain, you also have the struggle of you're not just inventing another thing that's in a different packaging. Yeah. How did your shopper marketing strategies change? Or where did they start?
From COVID or no?
From just recently.
I mean, things are changing quickly back to, people are going back to the supermarkets, right? You're seeing foot traffic get back there, which it wasn't there before. So which is great. So now you have those demo opportunities. You've got an opportunity to get back in the stores and really use some of the technologies for geolocating to let coupons pop up and stuff like that. So I think it's just getting more local and targeted as people go back to the stores.
Yeah, I'd say for demos for us, that's been the biggest thing. So our challenge is, and it's an exciting challenge, and it's frankly a very big opportunity, is introducing the Bing to American consumers. So the Bing is, and hopefully you all got a coupon. Please go ahead and use that for free Bings, and you can see for yourself. But a Bing is essentially a Chinese food format, so it dates way back to the Ming Dynasty, and based on chef's background, he's taken it and kind of reinvented it with flavors that are kind of appealing to the American palate. And we want to appeal to the most broad audience that we can. So yes, we're a plant-based product, but I've been having a lot of conversations with many people about, we don't want to be in the plant-based section because we're so much beyond that. And, we're just a delicious food item that happens to also be plant-based and gluten-free, which serves us well in some categories. But demos.
How do you convince people of that?
And that's the thing is demos are gonna have to be, our number one marketing avenue. They always have been and they will be now. I couldn't really rely on that the past couple of years. So it was challenging because here we're trying to ship frozen, super expensive to sample and frozen. we didn't have the store demos to do, so we relied a lot on like earned media, and luckily we can riff off of Chef because he's got, he's on Netflix and he's got things like that that we can kind of play to. But now that the store's opening up sampling, it's like 100% of my time is gonna be focused on like demo programs, sampling. We just did 4 sampling events at Sprouts this past weekend where it's like boots on the ground is where we're gonna have to be, giving out free coupons, just like Sandro was saying. I don't know if he's still around, but like it's so important for us to be sampling our product wherever possible, and we know we're giving away like a shit ton of free product, but it has to be that way, especially for a brand like us where it's not Ming's dumplings, it's not Ming's pizza, it's Ming's Bings. And so introducing a new format, much like introducing, matcha boba, I view it truly as something like that, where it could be as big as that, but you have to get people over the initial hurdle of, what is this? This looks interesting. Okay, here, try it on us for free and see for yourself. So I'd say like sampling, just to, not to repeat it, but sampling for us.
I'm sorry, what did you say again?
I know.
Sampling,
yes.
Okay,
and
excellent.
so looking at opportunities, like the Shopkick platform, we use Aisle. I know a few of you use that as well, which essentially like is giving us the ability to do, text your receipt and they get paid back via Venmo within 24 hours. Like we see that data come in. We see that there's been an incredible conversion rate on that offer. Obviously, it's a free product. We're giving away a free product. We're getting a lot of rich data back, and this is at the retail level. It's not the consumer, or not our D2C level. It's at the retail level that we're getting, gender information. We're getting demographics. What store did they shop at? We're looking at their receipt to say, okay, this person shopped at Target and they bought Ming's Bings, but they also bought, plant-based milk, whatever other, like Beyond Beef. Those are brands that I'm gonna now take and just target the crap out of those brands in social and like partner up with brands who are in similar categories, because now I know, the other preferences. So it is a free sampling program that we are spending a lot of money on, but we are getting so much richness back from a data perspective on it. So
Absolutely.
any programs like that is what we're kind of trying to gear towards.
Data, and we collect those receipts as well here at
Yes,
Shopkick.
yes.
So, I know. That's listen. Hey, what is good for the goose is good for the gander here, right? Jessica, what interesting, unique shopper marketing strategies have you employed?
Demos are going to come back in a big way. You're absolutely right about that. Although they aren't the most cost effective to those brands that are trying to stay really lean, they can get really expensive very quickly, but they are incredibly impactful. So we're leaning into that, but then also, Shopkick, for example, right? Incentivizing the consumer to go to shelf and then give us that feedback, and also they get kicks in return. I mean, the brilliance behind the program is wonderful. So social media, just sort of an assortment of different ways that we're trying to get this sort of spoiled consumer that has been spoiled through COVID with this like constant feed of sexy, incredible looped videos that are so informative. Well, how are we going to get them that at store level, since 90% of them are going into retail? And so solving those problems through creativity is kind of the name of the game for us.
Traditional digital channels are getting extremely expensive,
Very,
outpacing the cost of inflation, which is just mind-boggling. Chuck, you were complaining about algorithms earlier, so you need to figure out a different way to cut through the clutter and to get the attention of the consumer.
Yeah, for sure. We most of the fruit that we sell is like beautiful pink or yellow and stuff like that. So we grew up riding the coattails of Instagram, and like we had such this incredible organic growth. Like people just wanted to share a picture of their pink lunch or bowl, and so we were getting all this for free, all this organic, and like probably like 7 or 8 months ago, like all those taps like just turned off. And we were late to the game with video, and so like everything is video now. Like there's just anybody posting still photos on these social channels are just, they're not going anywhere, and you just see your reach. So like, how do you adapt for that? And so now, we're fortunate that we've become this national brand. We're going deep with marketing agencies to really build out a strategy at a national level. And the buyers are asking that from us too. They're like, okay, great, you've spent 11% of your trade back in store. What are you doing outside of the store? Like not just on social. They're like, we're Kroger, we're Walmart, we're national. Like, where's that TV spot? And I'm like, oh my God, I still have like this mentality that I'm working in my garage, and now I have to like have a national like ad campaign. But it's exciting, and I think what really is resonating and what these buyers are telling me, they're like, listen, we fell in love with your brand and the story. Like, we need your help telling the story. And I think if you have something like authentic and something differential, like, you got to tell that story. So that is our plan for 2023, is like more of a omnipresence 360 marketing that they're telling me I have to do. And so that's where we're investing.
I love it.
Tell the story.
I love that Chuck is forever humble.
I know.
Still operating out of his garage at heart.
Chris, anything to add on unique shopper marketing strategies?
No. No, I'm joking. Yeah, no.
I
have lots
just
of
get on
thoughts.
Shark Tank, it'll be fine.
Yeah, no, that was helpful. So I don't know. I think just to pick up on the D2C side quickly, because I think that's interesting. Like, the same as everyone else, right? The new privacy world is a disaster for tracking and ad spend. So we've literally lowered our ad spend, I think, 80% year on year, whilst growing revenue 100%. And the way we've managed to do that is primarily through, I think one person mentioned sampling, or maybe everyone did, that literally sampling, right? We're selling, as you said, soup, right? Soup, oatmeal, chilies, curries, very familiar foods. And as Craig said at the beginning of the day, the bar is so low, right? I mean, it is just on the floor in terms of quality of ingredients, quality of brand, quality of everything. So we are selling, one of the taglines we use is meals you love, but better, right? It's very familiar, it's just better for you. It's no added sugar, or it's ingredients you can pronounce, or keto, plant-based, and so on. Now with that, we know from the tens of thousands of reviews that 90% of people who buy it are gonna like it. That's like the holy grail metric for us, and the repeat revenue you can see D2C. So when we take that to retail, it's like, my God, we're in thousands of stores. Like, how do we actually drive awareness? How do we do this? For us, it's partnering with some of our niche kind of subsets. So like nurses, for example. There's 5 million nurses in the US, truck drivers. There's 5 million truck drivers in the US. They all love the product. We can see that from the reviews. And now how do we do that, right? An average large hospital might literally change like 5,000 nurses on a shift in the morning, 5,000 in the evening. I want to give free meals to every single nurse and truck driver and teacher and student in the whole country. For us, we're shelf stable, we're lightweight, we can ship direct D2C sampling, upsell that to Walmart, whether it's a coupon or a Shopkick thing, like all of this, just try and create that little ecosystem around that. But it does start with sampling for us, but it is direct to consumer sampling to then drive an in-store visit. At least that's the theory, but that's the plan. So.
And I'll just add one more thing on it. So for us, my background's digital marketing. Before this, I was at Instagram, and so I think about social, I think about digital, but I'm buying out of home right now, and I'm proud of it.
I know, I was floored.
Yeah, so we're buying out of home,
and jealous, but that's fine.
We're not spending. We're being like super targeted on where we're buying out of home. We literally like take the proposals that come in, and I go Google Maps and I walk the street that these billboards are on to see what it looks like. So if somebody comes to me with a Tampa proposal, I'm gonna look at that and I'm gonna insert myself in that street, and I'm gonna say like, what other stores are around there? What does the like traffic pattern generally look like on the street? Like what turns, like, is this the last turn before they get on the highway? Is this a highway spot? Like, we are doing super, like, it's in the weeds. And as the CMO, like, you take on any role, and if this is gonna help us succeed, then you do stuff like this. Because if I ask them to do it, I'm not gonna get that level of data that I need, So, and we've made decisions, yes, no, on looking at Google Maps and like walking the street view. So we have been buying out of home. We do so we're only in 2 markets right now. We're in Phoenix because Super Bowl is coming up, and we decided that was a great spot for us to be while we are launching in Sprout. So let's be in Phoenix. And we are in the Florida area, and that's literally all we're doing, and we're doing it as a test. And the last time we did it as a test, we saw like 30 to 50% increases in our store velocity, and that the only stores that we're doing this for are stores that we're getting that data from. So like, we don't have the budgets to get rich data from everybody. We're not buying like super reports, but if we're getting store level data from Target on a weekly basis, which we are, I can look to see like, is it actually moving anything at the store level? And if it is, like, is my investment worth it? So yes, like we're in this world of, digital and sampling, but then like don't overthink, or don't overlook the platforms that once had been, super expensive, because if you can throw $10,000 at it and actually like drives a significant amount of, velocity in your surround, if you can put that in a radius of 6 stores and increase velocity there and awareness at the same time, it's gonna work. So I would just say like, we are living in a world of digital. Sampling is, of course, really important as a non-digital component of that, but don't overlook the other mediums that once potentially had worked. And I do think like out of home is coming back if it's done in the right way, which is super, super geo-targeted, which is just how we buy, digital media. So.
I mean, I think we are all living it right now, that there was a point in time that everyone said the store was dead, right? The physical store was dead. U.S. Commerce just issued a release too, saying that over half of the U.S. consumers prefer to shop in store. So I think the omni-channel, Chuck, that you were saying, and making sure that you're not overlooking potential channels that you might have misregarded in the past.
Yeah.
So you all had mentioned kind of something along the lines of know thy consumer. And sometimes the best way to know thy consumer is owning the customer and being D2C. But you are all D2C brands as well as being sold through retail. So how are you leveraging each of those channels to drive the other? And what are the priorities?
I think for me, it was, taking D2C as part of our web strategy, right? And I think when you're a young brand and you're starting out, you have, like Ashley mentioned, like shipping frozen is a nightmare. It's cost prohibitive, and but there's people that hit you up all around the country, and they want this product, and we were hesitant at first. We're like, you don't want to pay $60, $70 for us to send you like a case, and they're like, yes, we do. We're like, all right, fine.
Sure,
and so
fine.
so we started packaging, and it was really just like way to get product in people's hands. And we would take that data and we'd look at that, and we would start building heat maps that we would build to the buyers and be like, hey, listen, we're based in San Diego, but here we are in Florida, and like we are shipping product like idiots all across the country, like, and everyone's around your stores, and that really resonated with buyers, and that would help drive retailers. And it's a win for us because we're not shipping it, we're getting good margins. So, but it's in this frozen space, it's 1/35 of our whole business is direct to consumer, but it's still really important to us. But we also do a lot to like direct to food service as well in those hard to reach places. So it's just staying engaged with the customer, giving them an option. And then as you grow as a brand, the other thing that's really knocked down our own D2C is that if you Google our brand, you're gonna get an ad from Amazon Prime, Instacart, or Sprouts, or anything like this. And so now I'm so happy that the customer doesn't have to pay $70 for my product. They can just pay $5.99 and it goes into their normal shopping cart. So people are shopping online tremendously for our brand, but not directly off our site, which is fine with me because we keep the same margins going to retail. It's less headache. The retailers are happy. We're getting turns in those retailers, and that's how we really need to scale our business anyway.
I can relate to that. Pop and Bottle was born in retail, and retail is our home, but we pivoted during COVID to D2C and embraced relationships like Thrive Market and Perfect Foods, who already had that momentum and traction. And we also, of course, offered the consumer, or the people, create new creative ways to give them what they wanted, right? Like a build your own box or subscription model. However, it is category specific, right? It doesn't always make sense to ship heavy boxes of beverage across the country. The P&L, especially if you're perishable, P&L almost never works out. So we embraced it during COVID, but really we kept one foot in D2C, but have leaned heavily back into supporting and growing retail, because that's where our consumer really discovers us. And then our core consumers, they'll still come back and pick up that subscription box through our website or through Amazon or wherever it might be.
Yeah. Ashley, anything to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, we just continue to learn from our direct-to-consumer audience. They're kind of like our research group, I'd say. And so these are people who are, enamored by the brand, which is awesome. They're willing to pay that high price point, but in return, they get, first access to X, Y, and Z new flavors. And, we use them as kind of, we go to them with survey questions all the time. We say, hey, are you willing to, provide feedback? And a lot of people, want their voice to be heard, and a lot of people feel, strongly about brands and about things. And so I would just say, like, using your direct-to-consumer audience as well. I mean, that's why we keep that platform running, because we know they're potentially a little bit different than our retail audience, but we can still learn from them. So messaging tests, we use social, I'd say, for messaging tests too, like Instagram stories. It's a great way to get some initial feedback on like messaging, creative, do an Instagram poll. And no, we're not gonna like make huge business decisions based on this, but directionally we can learn, from our 40,000 followers or whatever we have, like, what are they interested in? What do they not have any interest in? One thing that we asked them recently was around, are you vegan? Are you plant-based? Are you gluten-free? What are the things, or do you just like delicious food? And despite, primarily our focus on social, at least to get engagement levels up, is to engage with, vegan foodies, gluten-free foodies, plant-based foodies. But actually, most people came back to us and said they just like delicious food. So like that's another learning that we're having in terms of, okay, delicious first, which is part of our, mission statement around, and our motto around eat good, feel good, do good. It's got to be delicious first. So I'd say, like, I'm going all over the place, but like using social to test, using our direct-to-consumer to test, issuing surveys, following up with people. Hey, like, why did you provide that feedback? Like, if you're open to it, could you tell us a little bit more on that? So I'd say, like, it's an incredibly important avenue for us from a research perspective, just to collect information, but then also just hold and maintain these like deep relationships with people who have been with us from the beginning.
Nice. No, it's really true. I think the first thing you said, Brittany, about this idea that 1 minute retail's dead and the next minute D2C's dead, and it's like, I don't know who these analysts are, but it doesn't make any sense.
Who's they,
Like,
by the way?
like,
Who's they that are saying
it's
this?
the most binary thing in the world. Like, in what world is that dead? Now everyone's got to do this. Now this is dead. It's just ludicrous. Whereas obviously the ecosystem of meeting where the shopper where they want to be is clearly the holy grail. And whether it's a small part of the business because of frozen and other challenges, or for us it's about 50% of our business, and it's just a totally different game. And for us, really, we use it to leverage into retail, to your question, in terms of where should we go. So again, for us, if you slice our D2C data, we basically ship the same amount of product to every US state, right? We're not polarized coastally, we're not polarized by state. So when talking about Walmart, it's like, that makes sense, right? We're national now, the type of customers I described are very much that shopper. Then what should we take to Walmart, right? We have 40 items online, breakfast, lunch, dinner items. Obviously, what should we take there? Well, we iterate online, we test all of that, and then we take the good ones to retail. So like, we're using one channel to essentially inform the other. So we know we have product market fit, D2C. Do we have channel market fit in terms of a Walmart? We think so because of all the data of D2C. Obviously, there's still gambles within the way, but one informs the other. And then outside of that, just little things, right? We have 500 people in a Slack community. It's our best customers, and you just post and ask them, like, what do you think of this? Like,
wow,
your point
just
on
ask.
customer refinement. We've done some fun things literally in a Walmart meeting that a buyer asks a question, like, I don't know the answer to that, let's ask. So we do it, and then by the end of the meeting, we got 50 votes, and it's very obvious. So like, using one to do the other, I think, is the key. And then, we have, again, a Facebook group, but with thousands of people in it, as opposed to a super refined group. And just building momentum and fun stuff. And we'll literally post like, hey, we just launched in this store in local to you, please just go and buy it. And people love it, right? They love it. They love being involved. It's like part of the community. So yeah, using one for the other and not thinking of them as binary options, I think is key.
So wow, D2C and retail can live harmoniously.
I mean, it's shocking as it sounds.
I mean,
yeah,
it's
that is-
mind-blowing.
Yeah, you
Mind-blowing.
heard it here first.
So I'm sure a lot of people here it can be a little daunting going into retail, right? So kind of to Chris, to your point, some people always thought it was D2C was the goal. You all have been very successful in retail and in some really massive, amazing, impressive chains. What are some myths of retail that you can debunk right now and share with this audience of what you found?
Go ahead, Jack.
I think that people care about your brand on a store level. Like, you can leave a buyer meeting, oh my God, we love your brand, this is great. Like, that buyer and the guy who stocks the shelf have never, like, barely ever met in their lives. So there's like, and this guy's got a ton of other issues that he's got to deal with during the day, the last of which he cares about is like an email from the buyer that he's not doing his job good. So it's like, so how do you, really get execution on shelf to make sure that, your product is there? So as far as the biggest myth is that, like, once you're in and get an authorization from a retailer, that your product is actually going to be on the shelf and actually move through would be one of my biggest myths.
How many stores did we miss earlier? You said only 40%, right? That's just mind-blowing. So don't believe that your products are actually there when they tell you to.
Yeah, they're managing a lot of SKUs.
Okay.
That's
Chris?
true.
Or Jess? Whichever one.
Yeah, I'd love to take this one. There are quite a few myths, but my favorite, and the one that I hear most from the brands that really live in D2C primarily, is that retail's too expensive. It can be expensive if you do it wrong. It's definitely worthwhile if you do it right. So you have to be careful about your spend and where it goes, and put it where it counts, and also lean into the programs that are there to help you. So if you're a woman-owned, minority-owned brand like Pop and Bottle, we ask our buyers, we know they have programs in place, and we ask them to give us the price breaks that we need. We partner with phenomenal brokers, since we keep our team relatively small, and shout out to Leslie Godwin over there for helping us launch 3 product lines in Walmart nationwide at the same time. So partner with people that are going to help you do what you need to do, but without spending on building an enormous in-house sales team. I mean, Pop and Bottle has really me, and it's been a grind, but it's great fun. So yeah, one myth. Not too expensive. What was the other we talked about? Cross-channel. Oh, we'll always negotiate. That's the other thing. There's this weird perception in CPG. It's sort of an old school thing that it was always seemingly kind of a fair deal. Whatever a retailer asked for, you just ponied it up and gave it to them. That is no longer the case. Their asks are exceeding far beyond the norm. And if everybody always says yes, where is it going to stop? So negotiate, and it's perfectly acceptable, and you should absolutely be doing it and pinching every penny wherever you can, while also supporting them, but doing so responsibly. The other myth is that you can't play with competitive retailers across channels, and that is entirely untrue. Gone are the days where you were only allowed to be in Whole Foods or Walmart. It's your responsibility to bring your product to all the people, right? And you need everybody to come to the party, all the retailers, in order to effectively do that. So you have to, of course, take care of them, take care of that Walmart relationship and the Whole Foods relationship, give them an individualized support, exclusives help if you can swing it, but you need both to win, and that's okay. So don't be afraid to reach out for both.
I would just add one myth on our side is that you're going to be able to control where you are positioned in the store. And for us, it's like, wow, we are probably in like 5 different locations. I mean, it's a struggle. We work with our broker obviously on placement, and placement's really important. But ultimately, it's going to come down to where the store wants to put you and where they have room. For us, we're handheld pocket, so we live in the handheld pocket section. We are also an entree. We like to say, one's a snack, two's a meal, and so in many cases, we're also positioned in the frozen entree section next to, the lean cuisines of the world. We're also positioned in plant-based and in the gluten-free and like natural section. So it's hard from a marketer's perspective because you don't always know where to send your customer. You can say, head over to the frozen food aisle, and then they're like, okay, now where? And so the challenge is, really making sure that we understand and we get as much data as possible to understand where we're being positioned at each store. And for different chains, it can be different. It's almost so, it seems so basic, but I would say, like, yes, we are unique in the sense that we can sit in different categories, but like most of you have brands that potentially can sit in different categories as well. Like we heard from Cheryl we had a good conversation about the baby aisle. Like I have a 1.5-year-old, I shop for her product previously in the baby aisle, but now I don't really shop in the baby aisle anymore. So I'm buying her product, in the dairy aisle, which is great. So like having multiple spots can be really helpful, but it can also be confusing to a consumer. So, working as closely as possible with your retailer if you have access to them, or with your broker to just make sure that you have an understanding of where you're being positioned, and then getting the data to kind of back it up in terms of, okay, I'm being positioned in handheld pocket as a category overall. It's performing this much better than being positioned in frozen entree, vice versa, so that you can guide those conversations as well and you have the data to do so. Because if you tell a retailer, a new retailer coming in, hey guys, like, sure, if you have room in handheld pocket, but actually in frozen entree, we tend to perform on average 4 to 5 times better. Guess where they're probably going to find space for you. So it's a little bit of like a learning exercise, and it takes some time. So that's one myth. If I have time for a second.
Yeah, go right ahead.
The second myth is just around thinking about. So think about getting on shelf. A lot of people think like getting into Publix, Sprouts, Target, Whole Foods, it is hard, and we feel like, fortunate that we're there, but actually like getting off the shelf is even harder. So, or staying in the retailer is even harder. So many times, we were thinking about our sales efforts, and we were supposed to go to Expo West this year, and we actually had paid the fee and everything. We said, why are we doing this? Like we're in 4,000 stores. Like we have some stores that are kicking ass and we have other stores that are not. So like, why are we spending money to go someplace to win more accounts when we have things to address, already like at the store level? And so I think, we've talked a lot about velocity, but continuing to focus as much as possible on that. I mean, we negotiated back the fee that we paid, luckily, and we're going to take that $7,000 or whatever it was and put it towards, ad dollars and sampling and things like that of the stores that are underperforming right now, so we can get our numbers up at the stores that we're in. So I would just say, like, having great retailers on your list is important, and for investors and fundraising and things like that. But you need to focus on the numbers and the velocity of the retailers you're in. Sandro's a great example of that, of how 3,500 stores, and he's being really intentional with how he grows his business. And that's, I think, a good lesson to all of us. We would all love to be in 15,000 doors, but what would be even better if we're in 3,000 and we're just killing it in those 3,000. So
well, and with the current economic turbulence, I mean, I wouldn't dare say the R word in this room, but the name of the game at this point is to be super lean and pull back on spending and keep your team small and love on them. This is a hard business to be successful in, and make sure that they're taken care of. Because if your team isn't happy, then your brand won't be thriving, and it's just the way it goes. But finding all those other cost savings and pulling back where it's not 100% necessary is the only way you will ever get to profitability, or a pathway to profitability, or decent margins, all those things that are really required at this point. So tread lightly and don't spend too much, which is why I've been sporting this cute pop and bottle pin for the last 5 years, because we've never printed t-shirts. And as much as I would love a pop and bottle t-shirt, and I have the most swag envy, that's not what's going to drive revenue for us. And so we spend every penny very carefully.
Very fair. I know we're running out of time, so just one thought is just in terms of myths and things. I don't know, I think you just carve your own playbook, right? I'm a bit of a founder kind of junkie in terms of I've spoken to every founder you could name in all the big kind of natural food brand, and there's no one way to do it, right? There was a time where it was, we prove it locally, we go regionally, we start natural, we try to cross over, like all this kind of stuff. And I can name just as many brands now that started in retail, then went D2C, or started D2C and went retail like us, or got their big break in Costco to start with, or there's so many different ways to do it. So as long as you know your unit and order economics and the channel dynamics and so on, don't be afraid to just figure something out that's a little bit unique, because I think there's many, many ways to that same path of success across the channels, really.
Although one thing I do think is important in addition to that is to keep it fun and have a good time.
Yes.
I mean, the light comedic undertone is contagious, and we're all here just to eat and drink delicious food and beverage that delights us. So do that, because the consumer loves it, right? I mean, look at a Liquid Death, right? They put water into a can, but they made it funny, and their numbers are astounding. So at the end of the day, let's all just
humans.
Yeah, right. And enjoy the process, enjoy it, and have a good time, and always try and be funny if you can.
Well, amazing. I'd love to thank our esteemed panelists for all of the wonderful insights. I would have to say, I don't think there is another industry that would be this open and this honest and this willing to share and network with someone that might want to take their shelf space. So I just applaud all of you for your openness and for you being here today. And thank you so very much. I know we're way over time, which is so on brand for me. But do we have any questions for this panel?
Let me, I'm coming as quickly as I can.
It's on brand for me as well.
Okay, great.
You're good. You're in good company.
Conversation.
Hey guys, Josh here. Quick question. What is your magic metric and how did you find it? Your magic metric for growth. So I think somebody said, oh, if they try the product, they're 3 times more likely to repeat purchase, or if they also buy coffee. What's your magic metric and how did you find it?
My magic metric is my bottom line. I get really psyched when that thing's in the black at the end of every month. I'm like, we're doing something right. Let's keep on doing this. And so that's been my magic metric, and yeah.
Nice, that's a good one. I'd say just focusing on D2C for a second, 75-day LTV for us is the #1 thing. So, you get a first purchase. We can get anyone to purchase something, right, with enough marketing, enough kind of fun stuff. In terms of what they spend additionally within a 75-day period, I think really indicates whether there's true channel fit or product fit for them. And then, so that's really what we focus on to just guide direction.
I would agree with Chuck. I mean, beverage is tough. So the bottom line is important to watch. And as we've launched new products that you would think would cannibalize each other, we have learned that they don't. And that is that repeat and grabbing new consumers and driving new dollars into the category is vital for us. It validates our position there, and we're going to continue to do it.
Yeah, agreed. So velocity for us, but then looking at just through our surveying, so like surveying people back who have purchased in retail, so through the offers that we're doing, like the free sample offer, like getting that rich data back from them of repeat purchase. So what is your intent to purchase again? So intent to purchase is huge for us, and also for us as a new brand, as most of us are, like just brand awareness level. So starting to get baselines on brand awareness and what awareness looks like in our category, and then like just the gains that we're making, quarter over quarter, and if we're making progress towards those awareness goals as well.
Thank you.
Anything else? Any other questions?
I just got a statement. So I ordered Proper Good, and it came to the house. And I think that one of the trends that I would just kind of call out that I've heard throughout the day is if you're going to do something, do it with excellence, and the details matter. So like when we're talking about the lighting in here, as Craig started off today, like when you open the Proper Good box, from the moment you get it and they deliver it, the outside of the box tells the story. The inside of the box tells the story. Literally you think about these like YouTube unboxing videos, they've taken that level of granularity to go, what does the consumer experience look like? From literally the moment it shows up on my door, I know exactly that's Proper Good. I don't know, that's a random brown corrugate. Is it cheaper to do that? Yeah. But the attention to detail, and so that's something that I would just say, sitting here in the audience listening to you talk, is the packaging matters, right? The story matters. The emotional relationship matters. And so thanks for sharing this.
Just one fun thing on that. I'd say the surprise and delight, right? A bit of a theme for the whole day in terms of like that is huge for us. And what's interesting, so we have colored spoons, right? That kind of go with the packaging. If you're a subscription customer, you get a different colored spoon on every delivery. So you like collect the set, and it's like a fun thing. It's very cheap for us to do. It's very easy for us to do. It's a small, lightweight thing. The level of engagement that silly little spoon drives, you wouldn't believe it, right? Like they love it, and then someone's like, oh my God, my husband stole my spoon, I've got to get another one. And do you sell them? And the answer is no, we don't sell them. You have to subscribe to get them, and you'll get a different one each time. And like, that's just fun, right? It's surprise, it's delight, it's easy for us to do. It's a win-win-win, which is rare. And just stuff like that I think is key.
That is true disruption, right?
Yeah, we'll
For
take
the
it.
better.
Nice, exactly.
It's all about the
Disruption and
spoon.
delight.
It's all
Disruption
about the
and
spoon.
delight.
Yes, exactly.
Well, if you guys could join me, giving the panel one more round of applause.